and thank you for joining me today for our motivational interviewing class. Today we're going to be discussing using motivational interviewing to help substance abuse patients stop abusing drugs. My name is Annie Franklin, and this is going to be our class on motivational interviewing. So if you have any questions, please feel free to join in. This is not about me talking. I want to have an interactive class. So just feel free to give me your opinions, what you're thinking, anything that comes up. I want you to be free to express yourself. Don't think that anything is not too small to ask, but just ask any questions or just volunteer any information that you want to add to the class. So it's about us learning from each other, not just me standing up here talking. So does anyone have anything that they would like to share at the beginning of class about motivational interviewing?
I just think that motivational interviewing is just a great way to really help people with their problems.
That's great. That's great. And again, I apologize for my voice. Does anybody else would like to share? And this is a sharing session. It's not about me standing before you just speaking, and it's about us sharing information. So anybody else like to share with the class? So we're good to go on to the next stage?
Yes.
Okay. All right. What is motivational interviewing? I know we had one person to share what motivational interviewing is. Anyone else would like to share what they believe motivational interviewing is about?
Motivational interviewing is a way to coerce a client into positive outcomes by, let's see, what's the verbiage? By using things that they want and not forcing anything on the client.
Exactly.
So basically, it's like you getting them to talk, basically.
Correct.
Yeah, whatever motivates them, that's what you use to help them. Whatever they want in life, whatever they want to succeed, their dreams and goals.
Okay.
It's basically just talking to that person, getting to know that person, finding out more about them, and having a connection, developing a rapport. And the goal is for the person to decide what they want to do, not for you as the instructor or the counselor to tell them what to do, but to get to talk to them, get to know them, find out what they want, what they like, and how they want to proceed in their life. And so as they may have fallen on hard times, and life can throw some challenges out there. So it's not, you don't beat them up, you let them share. You let them share anything that may be on their hearts to share. And you sympathize, you show empathy for them. So as they're talking, you're constantly listening to everything they have to say so that you can hone in on something that, okay, well, let's discuss this further. And I'm going to use Kyrie as my example. So Kyrie wants to be a fashion designer, but let's say life is throwing him some challenges. So what do you think you can do to encourage Kyrie after having a conversation with him? What questions can you ask Kyrie?
I can ask him about, is he familiar with some of the well-known, relevant fashion designers today? For example, Versace, who had a very, very successful fashion industry. Fendi, the designers of Fendi.
I asked him how he plans to get to
Yeah.
the top or wherever he would want to be.
That's a good word, and that's one of the words is a plan. What are your plans? How do you get to, starting those plans and implementing those plans so you can change and become that fashion designer that you desire to be? So that's great. Planning is part of motivational interviewing. It's actually at the last stage. So our learning outcome is going to be you as the students, and we'll be able to evaluate and create a treatment plan using motivational interview techniques to change the behavior of substance abuse patients. And so, there is a technique, there are skills, there are things that you have to learn, because you just can't go in there and just get people talking, and then you're like, oh, okay, so you want to do this, you want to do that. But no, there's a process that you have to
know the right things to say.
You have to know the right things to say, exactly. So, because you can say the wrong thing and end up, actually causing that person to repel or go in a different direction. So, what we are going to do today is we are going to break off in groups, and we are going to, I want you to think about some of the things that we just discussed, and I want you to refer back to your notes as well. We're going to do think, pair, share, and think, pair, share is just the information that you've been given, like the previous information, is you thinking about what techniques and other stuff. Well, this is a video that I want you to watch that gives you a little idea of what's going on. We're going to skip this ad.
Approximately 47 million feet.
So this is a video about think, pair, share. This is what we're going to be doing, one of the techniques that we're going to be using to learn today.
Hi, I'm Alex for Teach Like This, and this is Think, Pair, Share. Think, Pair, Share is a really easy strategy to remember because it first requires students to think, then pair up with a partner, and finally share their thoughts. You can do this strategy by providing a question or a prompt that provokes student curiosity. Students should then be given a couple moments, not minutes, to think about the prompt. And pair up students with close neighbors or desk mates and have them talk about their individual thoughts. During this time, they can evaluate which answers and ideas they think are the best, most creative, or most unique. Finally, students are ready to share. You can do this in a variety of different ways, and all of them are good. You can have students raise their hand, you can call on pairs, or any other thing that you can think of. The teacher or teacher's assistant can write the answers on the board for everyone to see. Now, although this plan doesn't specifically call for it, I like to have my students write their answers down. This will help students remember their original thoughts if they go second in the pair portion of Think, Pair, Share. And it helps students that aren't very confident with their answers become confident because they have to talk about what they wrote down. Hey, you never know. They could be 100% spot on right, and they wouldn't know it if they didn't talk about it. This strategy is useful because it helps structure student-on-student discussion. This strategy maximizes time on task by building in accountability at every level. Students that are gambling that a teacher won't call them so they don't have to think about the question are now accountable to a peer that they're going to have to talk to in the next step. Think, Pair, Share also uses wait time that slows down the question and answer process that can often be dominated by overeager students. Additionally, students get to try out their answers in a small group setting before volunteering their answer in front of the entire class. Finally, students also rethink their answers and elaborate more on what they wrote when they get to talk to a peer. And as they collaborate, oftentimes newer ideas are generated. That's all for this video. If you have additional questions or comments, you can connect with me via Twitter, via email, or commenting down below.
Okay.
Click here to subscribe.
Okay, so what I want you all to do is pair up, and that's what basically what the video was saying. I want you to think about the information that we discussed earlier, and I want you to think about it, pair up in your pairs, and then I'm going to give you just a few moments just to go over the information that we had previously, and then I want you to share. We're going to go over the 4 processes, but I want to see how much you can just come up from your own, what your level is. I want to know what level each person is on. So you can go ahead and break off into your pairs, and I want to hear some discussion going on. Just review your lessons. And I'm going to give you probably about 2 minutes to just think about it, share it, and then, talk among yourself in your groups, and then we're going to share it with the rest of the class. So your time starts now, but feel free to ask me any questions. If you have any questions, please feel free.
Okay, so according to the information previously given, some of the main types of client resistance is arguing, interrupting, and denying, and ignoring. So I think one of the most significant out of the 4 is denying, because I think a lot of people with substance abuse don't like to take accountability for
Right.
their actions, and they like to blame others or previous situations that they've gone through. So I think motivational interviewing would be a very good technique for these particular individuals, because they may be able to assist the client in acknowledging their behaviors and accepting their or accepting accountability for their part in their life or their decisions that they've made.
I would say ignoring, because most of the times if you are substance abuse, you're going to ignore people because you don't want change. And that's where motivational interviewing comes in, at where you do your job and you talk to them, you get them to open up about what it is that they're going through.
Okay, you have about 30 seconds left if you want to go ahead on and wrap it up.
Okay, I agree with ignoring, because a lot of people, for example, people that are substance abusers, they binge, and whenever they're on a binge, they go without having any kind of communication with their loved ones, without talking to their parents, their children, things like that. So that will fall under ignorance. I think that was a very good point that you pointed out.
Okay, so right now we're gonna move forward and we're gonna share with the class. So like the full process is engaging. Did anyone discuss on engaging?
I did.
Okay, and basically tell us about engaging. Here we know it's like when you walk up to a stranger or somebody in the store, you engage them.
Yeah, you just talk about something, or get them to talk about something that is really important to them. If you can, relate to it, that's really good. It's good to see if you can relate to a person, especially before you try to tell them about something that they want to happen. Because a lot of people, if you just talk to them straight up, they'll feel like you're kind of attacking them. You don't want them to feel that way.
And you don't want them to feel like they're attacked. You want them to be the BFF. You want to be friends with them. You want them to share with you. So, did any group discuss focusing?
Focusing is back to what you were saying about having a goal. You have to have a goal, so you want that person to be able to focus on the main objective.
Right, exactly. You want them to focus on the main objective, which is, what do they want for themselves? Not what family wants, not what your parents want, but what do you want? What's going to bring you joy and satisfaction?
Yeah.
Right.
Change.
And it's changed, exactly. It's changed off. That's exactly. Did anyone discuss evoking?
We didn't discuss evoking. However, evoking would be kind of forcing the client to a specific goal.
Right, exactly. And the last of the four processes is planning. And hey, you had mentioned planning earlier. So, what do you think would be a good way to start a plan for your potential clients?
Just asking them how they want to get to wherever, how they want to get to their goal. How do they plan to achieve that? And using that to motivate them.
All right, so part of the how process is the four strategies. So, in developing that rapport, how can you start developing a rapport? What's the first thing you need to do? And especially if you know somebody's hurting, what do you do?
Express empathy, make gestures to show that they care. You can say things like, I'm so sorry that happened to you, I'm sorry that you had to endure
Exactly.
such things.
Right. You're right. You're connected with that person, on an emotional level. You're letting them know that you're not just there as a client and as a counselor. You're there, as a person to connect with them and to help them through this process. So, what is another strategy? Developing discrepancy between clients' goals or values and their current behavior. So, you want to get them to see what their good behavior versus their bad behavior, and what the bad behavior has done to their lives. So, what would be a good example of, good behavior versus bad behavior? And in the clientele that we're discussing, because we know now what's on the news now is vaping. So, they talk about all the deaths and that kind of stuff. So, what would be like a difference in a discrepancy in the behavior, good versus bad?
I know a pretty good activity that you can kind of get the client to do, maybe like a T-chart, where you can do you know, their behaviors, like good behaviors, bad behaviors, and then you can kind of go according to their behavior and have them explain what could be possible outcomes for those particular behaviors, the good versus the bad. So they'll be able to differentiate what behaviors will lead to a positive outcome versus what behaviors will lead to a negative outcome.
Right. Kyrie, did you want to share?
She hit it on the nail.
She hit it on the nail. Well, great. Great minds think alike. Anybody else want to share? Okay, what about number 3? Because, you know, some people can get very, very upset.
You just have to pay attention to what you're saying, and you don't want to offend that person.
But what if you're being as nice as you can be? You just
And
being
they still
nice.
get upset?
Yes. What if you have a client that's been forced to come there? You know, let's say they was driving and got arrested DUI, and now it's mandatory that they be there. They don't want to be there.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk to you, so they walk in with attitude.
I think just like, especially expressing empathy, just like, okay, yeah, I know you don't want to be here, but it's in your best interest, I would think, that for you to be here. And if they're still, you know, very confrontational, argumentative, then just let them blow off that steam. They might need to cry, they might need to, you know,
Right.
Walk off.
walk off, and
Let them
you
get,
know,
you know,
Yeah.
stuff off their
allow them to
shoulders.
feel those emotions.
Would you like to share anything with the class?
Uh,
Do you think it's appropriate to hug them?
Oh, you just gotta know how that person is. Like, if they're, you know, like if they're not really like mean spirited or nothing like that, then
Yeah.
you can hug them.
Yeah, some people, they don't want you to invade their space, so that's why it's important to do what? Develop that rapport, listen to them.
And be mindful of the body language that they're
Exactly.
expressing,
Looking
like tight fists or things like that.
And that's called nonverbal cues. And you can tell, even like somebody there, you know, they don't have to actually be saying things, but you can tell by their body, you know, by their body language. Yeah, some people probably sit there, you know, with their arms, you know, all folded, and then some people just jump in there and just let it go. So you got to realize, and you got to watch for those nonverbal cues. And number 4, adjust to clients' resistance rather than opposing it, directly and support self-efficacy and optimism. And that's basically, you know, when somebody comes in, like we were just discussing, you don't, if they're mad and they're upset, you don't jump back at them.
Yeah.
So what do?
You
You
allow
let
them
them. You let them vent. You let them get it out.
feel those emotions.
Right, you can say, I can understand why you would be upset regarding this particular situation.
Right. And how can you turn those emotions, those negative emotions, into positive emotions? You could say something like, you know, I haven't been, you know, where you've been, but I understand that you're in pain right now. So let's work on something to get you, you know, to get this pain off of you, so you can, you know, just get rid of this pain and start working toward, you know, a healthier, you know, behavior, a healthier lifestyle. So you know, you don't. When they get upset, you don't punch back. You don't punch back. What you do is you sympathize even more. You get down on their level, and even sometimes, like some people, they won't mind a hug. So if you're a hugging person, if you're not a hugging person, don't hug.
Yeah.
But there's even some people, you know, if they're crying, you can offer them some tissue. You know, just those little gestures. Sometimes it doesn't have to be anything grand, but those little things, it means a lot. So just take the time.
Some of those people, you know, that are, you can pray for them.
That's right, you can.
If they're
If
religious,
they're
you wouldn't want to
religious,
offend
even
them.
if they're not religious, you still can pray for them.
Well, you wouldn't want to offend anyone.
Right.
Right. And then, you know, even though there are some people that are not of faith, some people do yoga.
Yeah.
Some people do, there was a man on the news, he does meditation. Yeah. So there's all different types of things. And since you will have a broad, you know, demographic of people, do you think that culture is important?
Yes.
Yes, most definitely.
Right, right. Because what we may believe is all right for us may be offensive to the other person because of their beliefs, right?
Mhm.
So then again, it goes back to what? Getting to know that person, building a rapport to make sure that you draw them and not offend them.
Right.
And so because the goal is to do what?
To help them.
To help them. Right, Right, you want them to stop doing the risky behavior, you want them to live a healthy behavior. So you're there not to dictate, but to, help them make the decision on their own. And these are just 4 strategies, and I think it's very good strategies. Okay, so techniques. Give me an example of an open question that you can ask a person. Just you can refer back to your lessons, your handouts, but let's say I walk in and I'm on drugs, but I want to get off drugs. So how would you start a conversation with me? Not a yes or no question, but what question would you ask me?
What's your name?
Yeah.
And what are you addicted to?
Yes, that's a good start.
And what are you looking to change?
Very good. That's a very good start. Yes, excellent. Because you're number one, you're engaging me. You're getting to know me. Because how can you talk to a person and build a rapport if you don't know their names?
Right.
Okay.
I would just ask them, like, what about their situation, or do they think, or that other people think is concerning?
Mm-hmm.
What do they think is the problem with the situation?
Right. Anybody else like to share? Okay. So what about affirmation? When once you get them to divulge their information, and you want to validate them, you want them to know that you're there for them. So you want to affirm that okay, you're a person that's having some hard times, but guess what? That doesn't define you. So how would you let them know that that situation they're in now does not define them?
Well, what I like to do, I like to use examples. I can use like people that are in the public eye, for example, celebrities who have overcome substance abuse.
Right.
Or,
Positive role models.
right.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If they're religious, I would just let them know that no matter what, God still loves them. He has a plan for them.
Yeah, right. Their behavior is not who they are. Your heart feels one thing, but your behavior may be reflecting what's negatively impacting you. So you just let them know, you're a good person. You just happen to be in a bad situation. So reflective listening. Did anybody at the end of the groups discuss reflective listening? Oh, it's just like you said, you're talking to the client, and you just what?
Listening.
You're right. And you're trying to do what? Find out what that main thing is to get them to admit that they have a problem and they want to change.
Find out key words that they say.
Exactly. Right. Right. And even their body language. Sometimes, you can get a cue from those nonverbal cues that maybe they're, they're just quiet.
Fidgety.
Right.
Yeah, fidgety. Maybe their hands are shaking, So all those gives you a clue, an idea of what's going on with that person. And then summarize. Who can give me an example of summarizing?
I would say, at the end of a session, you could like restate some of the things that they've said in your response to the client, so that they'll know that you actually listen to them. You're using something that they have actually said in the session.
It makes them know that you're paying attention to them as well.
Right. So when you summarize, basically you've listened to this person and you gathered all this information. So you just really just say back what they said to you. So let them know that, yeah, you were there, you were paying attention, you were listening. So those are the techniques that you would use in motivational interviewing. So biblical worldview. So I heard you talk about praying. So how would you help somebody that wasn't, didn't believe in any type of God? They were all scientific, don't believe in a higher power. Because motivational interviewing can be used for anybody in just about anything. So how would you use motivational interviewing for a person that was not religious? You can basically use the same steps.
Yeah, you can use the same steps, just instead of using religion or stuff like that. Just use the people that they look up to.
And praying. You
Right.
see?
Use worldly things.
Yeah.
instead of more spiritual.
Right, and they say, well, I don't believe in that. I believe you got to show it to me. You know, if I don't see it, if I can't touch it, I don't believe it. So what do? You show it to them. You give them something they can see, give them something they can touch, give them something they can feel, give them something. It's all about relating to that person. It's not about, how we think it should be. It's about relating to that person. So, so we talked about a person that does not believe. What about a believer? What about a believer? If I came to you and, I fell into hard times, I lost my way, I'm an alcoholic, because, once I started out with one glass of wine, now it's like 2 or 3 bottles a night. So, but I believe in God, and I believe I failed God. So how would you use motivational interviewing? If I'm coming, I'm like, I just hate what I'm doing. I really, know that I've disappointed myself, my God, my family. So what are some open-ended questions you can ask me?
We can let them know that God is a forgiving God, and as long as you repent, then He's open to forgiveness for all of your sins. You can also refer back to some of the biblical stories in the Bible, how they've overcome certain, how they've disappointed God. However, they've overcome those situations to, show themselves approved in the eyes of God.
Yes. Right. Anybody else like to share?
You could pray before you talk to them and pray afterwards. You can invite them to church.
Yes. Mm-hmm. All those outside events, but the internal and external things, they affect us in ways that we don't even know. So you can think of things that are internal, like your emotions, what makes that person tick. You think of things that are external, like going to church, going to see a movie, family night. Just, like you say, even some worldly things. Christians like worldly things. I don't know about y'all, but I do. I like worldly things. I like to have fun. And that's the thing. You want to bring the joy back. You want them to have their joy back. Because they've fallen on the hard times. They leaned on something that, that wasn't the best for them. But now you want them to get back to doing something healthy. And something to get them, to bring their joy back. And that goes for the saved and the unsaved, the believer and the non-believer. And just one last thing. What do you do if you have a person that you cannot help? What if you have a person that, you've done all your techniques, done all your strategies, and it doesn't work? And what if you have a person that tears the class?
You still try, you just start out small.
I think that in that case, if it's a person that I've tried all my techniques that I feel should have been effective on this person, I'll refer them out to someone else, for example, like a medical, for a medical evaluation. So they may have, chemical imbalances that could be causing them to think irrational.
Right. So when you have someone that, when you recognize the signs, and you're already dealing with someone that's unstable, abnormal behavior, but when you have someone that straight loses it and they're no longer in control and then you lose touch with reality, then it's time to refer them out. So what are some good places that, in your community? Do you know of any places right here in your community?
Yes, Gracewood Hospital is a mental health facility. So pretty much a psych ward where they help individuals dealing with mental health issues.
Right. Okay.
Also, Augusta University also has a mental health facility as well.
Yes, they do. So that is the end of our class. So I thank you all, and do you feel comfortable as counseling students that you will be able to help your clients using motivational interviewing?
Yeah.
I do. I feel like I have a more in-depth understanding of what motivational interviewing is
Okay.
and
Well,
how to implement it.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Thank you.